Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
I have Lesbian Detective Podcast on today. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself. So take it away.
I'm Sierra,
And I'm Elizabeth.
and we host a podcast. It's called Lesbian Detectives.
Yes, it's a true crime podcast that is based really on. I'm so sorry, I get a little.
You're okay. Keep going. It's okay. You're fine.
Go ahead.
We talk about missing and unsolved murders. We give our theories on the case too. So we will give you a description of the case, go into details, but at the end, we'll tell you our theories of what we thought that might have happened to the person that went missing or was murdered.
And they might not actually be like things that happen. It's just we think about every possible
Theories.
scenario
Yeah.
to shed some
Mhm.
light.
You never know, though. I've seen in the past where people and their theories on podcasts actually led to solving the crime. So you never know. Putting our theories out there could help. What inspired you to start your show?
I have always loved true crime. My grandmother, she had me watching true crime when I was like 5. In my little head, I
Wow.
didn't know it was like some episodes she showed me. She like, "Oh, this is all real." So I like watching Law and Order, Criminal Minds. I'm thinking it's real. I'm like, "Oh my god, this really happened to these people." But then as I got older and during COVID time, I think that's when I really dig deep into true crime because we're just stuck at home. I'm like, "Well, I'm going to
Mm,
do this long period of time," and I started listening, and then I think my friends always say, "Hey, start a true crime podcast because your theories sometimes are exact, like can make be happen." And she always wanted a podcast. She's like, let's do it." I was nervous. I'm like, I don't
mm,
know if like people would listen to it or not. I don't want to waste our time. But I'm so glad that we actually started it.
I'm a
yeah,
yeah. Sorry.
you're okay.
Very- I'm a very supportive wife. So when she told me this, I was like, yeah, you know what? What's the worst thing that can happen? So we're doing it. Every day we're getting more and more followers. I actually got into true crime because of her. Before I met her, though, I would watch Dexter and I would love the way that he would just think and do and all that good stuff. So I think that was like our common thing where we bonded and we're like, you know what? Let's do true crime.
Yeah.
So that's a fun fact for viewers. You guys are married, right? Your wives. I
Hmm.
remember seeing that when we were chatting, and I'm like, "Oh, how cute!" Like, at first glance, it looks maybe like two friends doing a podcast, but for the audience, they're married. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well,
My husband directly works with my show as well. It's actually his creation years ago, so I was just the voice behind the creation. So um, it's fun to work with your partner if you're able to. So
Right.
some people can't. So, um, but yeah, so I think that you guys are on YouTube, Instagram, right? Facebook. So you guys go over and find them. I have their YouTube scrolling here at the bottom. Go check them out. And then for fun, you guys listen to my show, the episode, The Germond Murders, right?
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So we're going to let them take some of their detective expertise and help us see if we can come closer to a solution of this 90-year-old or 90-plus-year-old unsolved murder. So
Mhm.
we're going
Which,
to recap. I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, which, by the way, I'm gonna give you props. The way that you broke that story down, the amount of detail and suspense, I was like, oh my god. So you
Thank
did
you.
an amazing, amazing job.
I'm actually a writer, so I'm published. So sometimes in my show, you'll see that writing flair because I can't stop it. It just comes out. So yeah, but
Awesome.
all right. So I'm not going to read the story word for word, but we're going to recap it. And for watchers, listeners, go back to my YouTube or Spotify. I think it's a first or second season episode. I think I have 5 seasons. So if you want to listen to it audio, you'll have to go back to the beginning. But on YouTube, I recently put it up, so it's one of the more new episodes
Mhm.
on YouTube. So It was 1935, I believe, the tail end of the Depression in the United States. And that was a terrible time in the 1930s. People were broke. People couldn't afford bread or cheese or milk. So they're coming away from that at that time. So the economy is rebounding. People are trying to, salvage their financial future. Um, it's about 92 miles from New York, in a town called Stanfordville. Um, let's see, his name was James Husted Germond, and his wife was Mabel. And they settled in Stanfordville. Um, he was a dairy farmer and never missed a day, rain or shine. Like he delivered milk to people's porches, rain or shine, snow, it didn't matter. He never missed it. Um, Pretty much everybody loved this family. They seemed to be well liked in the area. I mean, he's the milkman. Who wouldn't like the milkman, right?
Right.
So, um, especially if they're bringing it to your door. So, the day before Thanksgiving that year, I think it was the day before. Yeah, well, roughly November 26th. Yeah, the day before. Someone approaches the house. Um, James is out, I think, at the barn working, and Mabel's in the kitchen with one of their children. Can't remember he's a 10-year-old Raymond, yeah. So they're sitting, she's preparing a meal, and he's sitting patiently waiting. My feeling is that she knew who was approaching her
Mhm.
door because she immediately grabs a knife, and
Right.
she's in that position to strike.
Mhm.
So right there, you know that she knew who this person was. She's already got beef with them. She's afraid of them.
Right.
Um, I think the terrifying part of this whole story is that she was murdered in front of her 10-year-old.
Mm.
That was vile. Like whoever that was had to have had some massive rage to this family. Like,
Mhm.
so she fought. He ended up killing her. Little boy runs to I think the barn where his dad's at. The dad comes forward, he's murdered, and then this person went on to murder the child,
Mhm.
which is, I mean, in 1930, the 1930s, you would not think that people had that kind of rage like we do now. I mean, well, not maybe us, but I'm sure you see people that are crazy in the world, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder all the time, why are people so angry? You know, but you don't really hear about that. I mean, maybe it's because we didn't have social media or mainstream newscast in the 1930s, but maybe it was always there. You know, maybe there were people like that. But either way, he killed the whole family. Didn't realize that the oldest child, I believe, was away at college and was coming home for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
That's the second horrifying part of the story. She found her completely murdered family.
Mhm.
Um, so that's basically the story. So then, they investigate, but really bad police work. They're trampling through the evidence, walking through the blood spatter.
Mhm.
It's just bad police work. Um, and I don't think there was more than one suspect. They did rule out a few people in the area, but the one is where we really want to deep dive because that guy had beef with the family. So, any thoughts this far?
So we disagree on one part because I
Okay.
don't think it was the neighbor that killed them.
Okay. Okay. I
Did.
always wondered if it was because he seemed the closest to having a problem with them. But
Only reason I didn't is because I listened to your YouTube and you said that he turned off the lights and he waited for the oldest child to come back.
mhm.
And I don't know. I feel like the killer was really going for her. He was trying to delete the family for her. I think she was really the main
Ooh.
target to me. Because
Oh.
think about it, why would he just kill the whole family? He could have easily left. But you said
Mhm.
in your YouTube that he waited, that he wanted her. It seemed like she was the main target to me. Because the mom, I don't know if the girl was the ex-boyfriend or somebody that, like, oh, kinda, like, was obsessed with her, but the mom, she had the knife. I think if it was the
Mm,
neighbor, she probably would've told her son, like, "Hey, go get your dad, like, let him deal with this
guys,
thing."
yeah, right.
But for
You
her to
could
use a
be
knife.
very, very onto something. I never looked at it in that perspective. I just assumed that she was away at school, so she never had anything to do with it. But wow, what that's a good one. That's a good theory.
Because he waited till the day she came home. They coulda easily did it anytime soon, but for
Well, it
her.
was that evening, so she came home that evening on
Mhm,
the bus, but he didn't know. I don't think they told many people she was coming home.
mhm,
Um, so it's you never know. I mean, what if it's like a guy in town that has always just, had his eye on her and he's this is it. When she comes home and to kill her family, I'm gonna kidnap her and make her marry me or whatever. I mean, interesting.
right. That's what I
That's a good
thought.
one. I guess I looked at the neighbor because of his time frame and his anger towards the family. So he had previous issues with them. I think it was over land and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. Um, any other thoughts?
Yeah, so I think it was sorry, let me clear my throat.
Mm,
Yeah, so I think it was a neighbor as well because he's the only one that had really beef or known beef with him. Um,
mm,
I believe that he believed that, James, owed him money,
mhm, mhm,
and so back when how you were talking, back then, people were going through a recession, people are in survival mode. A lot of,
mhm.
mental health awareness is not being discussed, people don't know how to manage their emotions,
And
so
in that time, it wasn't like where we are now, where we can openly talk about, mental illness or different things. So they were battling that on their own. In the 1930s, you didn't speak of certain things. I mean, it was, be quiet. So go
tough
on.
it out.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. It was very, like, tough knit out, and then the milkman, he's gonna be well liked. Everybody sees him, everybody expects him, and he basically, like, changes their lives little by little, like, he
Mhm,
helps grow their family, like, milk at that time or any time really is fundamental to the children's growth, so
mhm,
I feel like because he knew that James was well liked and had, a good business and wasn't paying him, I think that was enough for him to be like, "Okay, well, if I can't have your life, you can't have it either." So he was very tactical, like, the time that he left his house and the time that he came back really was in between the time that the murder happened, and then I believe he
It
said
was he
uh
left his house at 4 p.m. and did not arrive home till about 6:50 that evening. And he did hair on the side, like a barber, like he cut men's hair, and he was actually late for that appointment that evening. So from 4 to 6:50, what were you doing? Um,
exactly,
cleaning up the murder weapon or hiding the murder weapon, cleaning yourself from blood, maybe those things. I don't know because it seemed like he would, um, if he had an appointment, why wouldn't he be on time?
right.
Um, the person was coming to his house, so kind of strange. But I also saw that, and if you guys remember in the story, this man was charged with this murder.
Mhm, correct.
Um, but it fell apart because there was not enough
Eh,
evidence.
yeah.
Hmm. When he arrived home, his wife had said he was visibly shaken and that he was like freezing and he had his hands over the fireplace and you could tell he something had gone on, like he was upset, and he never told anybody what, why, or what happened. So that's why I always believed that he did it. But I really like your theory. It could have been her. She could have been the target.
Mhm.
Um,
'Cause I always wonder who was the person that got the most stabbed, because you could tell by that, because that was the killer main target.
mhm. More
So.
anger, yeah.
Mhm. I don't know, the neighbor, I can kinda see a little bit, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Probably because the evidence just didn't go through. For me, I'm like, okay, let's look at another suspect. 'Cause like we always in our episodes, like everybody's a suspect. You have to think
Mhm.
each person. But for some reason, I don't think it's the neighbor. I just can't see it. I just can't see it for some reason. I mean, he has like everybody feel like it is him, but I just
Mhm.
can't pinpoint it that it really was the killer.
So there is a man named Dr. Vincent Cookingham. He's actually a descendant of the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office.
Mhm.
Um, so he remembers maybe in his family line this case being talked about.
Mhm.
I don't really want to give it away, but if you ever go to his YouTube, I'm pretty sure he solved this case. he
Oh,
he puts it together as an investigator, and also having knowledge of the period of time and people in the area. So he's on YouTube, and I think it's just Germond Murders. Yeah, look it up. But he dissects the timeline really hard, and in my belief, I feel like he solved the case. So, but of course, it's 90 plus years ago. I mean, who's going to prosecute anyone? What are you going to do with it?
I mean, they probably can. Person probably like deceased by now because it's been
Oh,
90
well, yeah,
years.
like 100 years ago almost. So, yeah, I would imagine. Um, Arthur Curry, the neighbor, died, we know, in 1955. So, even if they did find, there's nothing that they could do. Um,
I
and I
wonder
was
what the wife was kind of scared of a little bit for her to bring that knife.
mhm.
Like, I wonder if she was scared of him or somebody else.
And that's the hardest part. There's not a lot of research, not a lot of information out there because it's so old of a case. But I wondered if with the neighbor Arthur, was she afraid of him? Was that somebody that she would have wanted to pick a knife up for?
Mhm.
There's not very many people that would come to my door that I would be so fearful that I'd pick up a knife. So it had to be somebody that had beef with them or that they knew was going to start a fight.
Right.
Correct, because that's what my wife said. She is like, "The daughter's supposed she's expecting her daughter, so why is she coming to the door with a knife?"
But she saw them. They came out of the forest or the wooded area. She knew they were approaching, and I think it terrified her. So, or my, I guess, slight theory here is what if it was a complete stranger? So
Mm.
you live on this sprawling cattle property, right? And you see someone come out of the trees. You're like, oh, who are you?
Mhm.
And this is not a heavily trafficked area. It's 1930s. People, a little more polite than people these days. So if it's a complete stranger, you might want to pick up a knife. Like, what is this person coming to my door for? Like, I see them walking across the field. So complete stranger, but what's the purpose? They could never settle on that one because they didn't get robbed that we know of. Nothing appeared to be taken. So what would be the purpose?
Mm.
Right.
Just a
It's
slasher? I mean,
I mean, I feel like it's personal. Maybe this
mhm,
might be too TMI, but I used to have an ex that lived in the country. I've always lived in the suburbs or the city, so I had no idea about the country, and she said, "People nothing will really happen unless somebody has a target on you," because like you said, everything's so isolated, like, you really
mhm,
have to know where you need to go in the country, and then too, we didn't
mhm.
really have cell reception. So, she's like, "Unless you're a target, like, everything is pretty much calm."
Yeah, there's no real I mean, you're not gonna unless you're just crazy, you're not gonna drive down a country road and be like, "Ooh, let's go murder people in that house." It's not gonna work that way.
And then
Um
even too, like, I was trying I mean, we do it here in the suburbs, but you don't really go into somebody's driveway, like, say you have to, like, do a little U-ey, you don't go into somebody's driveway, but you kind of a little bit, like, towards the sidewalk. And she was like, "Don't do that in the country because 'cause they'll shoot you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, I learned so much about what it is living in the country, and then
Mhm.
especially around that time, like, I would imagine.
We here I'm in, like, northern central California, and I'm surrounded a lot by farmland and orchards, plums, peaches, um, and it's I lived in the country for a long time, and it's said like if you go into the orchards just to run around and be silly as a teenager, you could get shot because the farmers don't know if you're an enemy and they're just going to come out there with their shotguns. I don't
Right.
know how much of that is really something that actually happens, but it was always terrifying enough to not go play in the orchards because you
Right.
never know. So
Right.
they're protecting their assets. So
Of course.
their trees are worth a ton of money when the fruit is, produced. So but yeah, I think that that's correct. People don't just drive around in the country and pick out houses. And at this time, there were vehicles, but this person came on foot. It didn't
Right.
appear to have any traces of a vehicle or tracks or anything like that. So, um, I
Because they
don't
left
know.
the bodies too, right?
What was that?
They left the bodies in the crime scene.
Mhm,
They didn't.
mhm. No cleanup, no nothing. It seemed like a crime of passion, like straight up anger. Just I'm going to eliminate you from the face of this earth. And not no cleanup, no hiding the bodies, nothing. It's very strange. Which is
Mm,
why I thought it was a neighbor. He lost his temper and just went off.
Took out all of like whoever. I think he was targeting the husband, but he's like, "I'm gonna take everything from you, your family
Mhm.
and yourself, like everything."
And I think that's why he killed the wife and the child first. Like,
mhm.
um, like when I finally kill you, you're gonna know I killed everybody. So,
And it
uh,
almost seemed like he knew where everybody was at, what their schedule kinda looked like. Because I know a lot of
mm,
people, especially, like, if you're married, have kids, you're on like, a routine. So, I know that around this time, we're having dinner or say he knows that James milking the cows and like,
mhm,
it's like he knew how to get everybody one by one. He didn't
mhm.
just go into the house that was full of people.
No,
He
he yeah.
strategically
Came
targeted.
at dinner time too because she was preparing dinner. He would know that she's in the house, and I mean, we're not dairy farmers, but you're probably right. They probably have some kind of a schedule when they do milk the cows. So and he probably knew that. So I don't know. I still like Sierra's theory, but I think I lean towards the neighbor. So
I still never know. Just never know with mines. I mean, because it was one part in your story, I feel like it stood out to me. You said that the house was completely dark. Like all
when
the
the
lights.
daughter came home, it
Yes.
was dark. Yeah, he
So
turned off the lights. Or maybe he didn't turn off the lights. Maybe the lights were never turned on. If it was evening time and she was making dinner, it could have been sunlight still. And then he killed them at dusk because you figure if it was a neighbor and he was gone from 4 to 6 to almost 7, it could have been daylight still
Mhm.
around 4 o'clock or a little before. So maybe the lights were never turned on. Just
Mm.
a thought. But if he didn't turn on the light or he turned them off, maybe he was I don't know.
That's creepy too. Like if he turned it off waiting on her to come home,
Mhm,
just chills. Cause she like
mhm,
already terrified, like, why are the lights off? And she's
mhm.
and then he just attacked her out of nowhere.
Let me see, I wanna look at the details here. She got off the bus, the house is black. Driver would later recall the flicker of surprise when she realized it was dark. Like, "What? The house is dark." I think she was expecting, the family to be prepping for Thanksgiving and everything to be very lively, and she's like, "Wait, what's going on?"
Mhm.
So, we know that we don't know what happened, we just know that her body was found as well, dead. So
And
so it's a very good possibility he did turn off the lights, because if he didn't, a shadow might have been seen and she might have run.
Mhm.
But to know that she was coming home, like, that's kinda disturbing. That's why
Mhm.
I think it's the neighbor, but, 'cause he would know that she was at college, whereas a stranger wouldn't know. We could go back to the theory that she was the target, but I don't know. Who knows?
Mm.
I feel like if she was a target, he probably would have, like, kidnapped her or kept her. I don't know, like, people or, like, a trophy. I don't know. I mean, I guess I've watched Dexter too much, but I feel
But
like
maybe there was a fight and he's like, "I eliminated your family, now we can be together." And she's like, "Hell no, I don't wanna be with you." So he killed her.
Mhm. Remind me of a cold case episode, like, I don't know, the show
Mhm.
Cold Case that actually happened. He wanted the daughter. He killed the whole family just to be with her. He said, like, "Look what I did. I killed your whole family. Now be with me."
That that reminds me of the Jeremy Steinke case, the werewolf murderer. I did that episode sometime in 24. Basically, he was not all there, and he started dating a 13-year-old, and he told her he's a werewolf, and she was like, "Oh, I wanna be a werewolf too." And they're in love, and basically, he coerced her to assist him in killing her whole family so they could be together, even her little brother. Mhm.
Oh.
So, I guess it is a contender among the theories because, it's a good possibility.
Mhm.
Those kind of things I would imagine happened back then as well as now. So, no, I think we have to just conclude it. It's unsolved still. We can't do it. Um,
We can't look at the evidence or
yeah,
nothing. We just
we came
gotta
with some good theories though. You guys had some good ones. Um, in your show when you do your research or you do your episodes, is there any particular one that's been your favorite episode to do?
Oh, what's been my favorite? Gosh, we have did so many so far. I think my favorite will always be, like, my first episode. I feel like the first
Mhm,
one's always gonna be your baby, and we did Alexis Patterson, and I think that one has always, like, gave me the, like, is it the parents or is it somebody that coulda easily just kidnapped her? With Alexis Patterson, she got into, like, a little argument with her family the morning before she went to school. She was crying, and then her stepfather dropped her off, but she never really made it to school. Like, she didn't go to none of her classes, and then her mother went to school, like, at the end of the day, and they said, "Well, she never came." She was in the 1st grade. They didn't call her, they didn't contact her or nothing, and it took the police, 3 days to really look for her. And then with her, it was the Elizabeth Smart. They went missing around the same time.
mhm,
Elizabeth Smart went missing a month after her. So, like, everybody was focused on Alexis Patterson, but when Elizabeth Smart went missing, they forgot about Alexis. They focused on her more. So I think that case has always stayed with me a little bit. If
mhm.
they focus on both the children, I feel like we will have an answer by now.
Right. Yeah, that
Mhm.
one was kind of. I always wondered why the delays with the police department. Like, what was that about? I mean, children are children. We shouldn't be waiting the 48 hours or anything like that, or 24 hours. We need to just be searching when they're children.
I have to
So,
go cough drop,
okay,
sorry.
no worries. Um,
Everybody getting sick.
it's the winter weather.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, that one's a good one.
Yeah. Or the Mitchell Owens, I feel like that one too. I feel like any kid one that goes missing and the police don't look for them is a hard one. With Mitchell Owen, his mother actually got assaulted that night, and
Oh my God.
he came in during the assault, and his mom said, "Run, run." And when she woke up, because her neighbor found her the next day, they're like, "Hey, your son ran away." He was 4 years old, seeing his mother get attacked, and the police like, "Oh, he ran away," and they never looked for him at all.
Wow. Did her attacker perhaps go after him?
That's what we all believe, that the attacker, because he has a witness,
Mhm.
because
Yep.
he was trying to SA her and somebody came and disrupted. So
It's so crazy too. There's so many places on the earth that you could just bury a body and no one would know. Like literally, you go anywhere that's remote and you never know what you're walking on, what's underneath you, because somebody kidnaps somebody, takes them, murders them, and then buries them. And where would you even begin to look? It's
like,
crazy.
yeah.
So anyway, anything weird that's occurred while you're in your recording phases or anything strange, unusual, or it's pretty easy for you guys?
She's
I'm
back.
so sorry. So
She's
It's
back.
sorry.
okay. Keeps it real. We're human beings. We have real life issues and real things come out. So, like what I was just saying, is anything strange or weird happen when you guys are recording or when you're doing your research? Like right now, we just had a little blip where you had to get up. Nothing too strange, but nothing at all. No.
No, I just think sometimes she'll be like, "Oh yeah, in this case," like whenever our theories are about higher ups or we think that it's somebody in the police department or political, like I'm always a little scared because I'm like, what if they're gonna come after us?
Mm.
And I
Um,
think this
I,
last
I I've actually experienced that twice. Once on another podcast that I was assisting on, and then one of my actual episodes was banned because I just told a story of some political stuff and it got banned. I won't say which one, but I I was like, ooh, like, uh, I mean it kind of hurt, but then I thought, wow, you got banned. And so did I upset someone? Just a story. And I never tell my opinions in these stories because I'm just a storyteller. It's not, about my opinion.
Mhm.
But apparently some things in the world do anger people. And yeah. So you're probably correct in being a little fearful. So
Yeah, I mean, we never mention anybody by name, and we
mm,
always say, like, these are our theories, but like you said, it could rub off somebody the wrong way and they take it personal.
mm,
Not that I'm trying to invalidate anybody's feelings, but
right.
that is a risk I feel that we
Mhm.
take when we deliver our
But that's what makes you responsible when you're podcasting, because there are a lot of podcast hosts that are not responsible. They will just say the words, they'll shame the victims, they'll say their hard opinions, even though it could affect someone. And like I don't do too much true crime. Occasionally, it has to have a twist, like he thought he was a werewolf, or Um, but I try to be respectful because remember when we're talking about crime, that's somebody's aunt, somebody's uncle, somebody's sister, somebody's child, and we've probably all lost someone in our lives at one time or another. And you remember that absolute pain when you know you'll never see that person again. Now add the flavor in that somebody murdered them and you have no idea who.
Mhm.
So that becomes even more painful. Then you have a million podcasters irresponsibly making statements that if you hear them, it just adds to that pain. So I think we do need to be responsible, but there are a lot of them out there that just are not.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Sometimes I think of the family, I'm like, "Oh, if this was, like, my loved one, how would I feel?" But sometimes I feel like it's important to tell that person's story, because what if your story, your podcast, or your episode is the one that it goes viral and, like, so many people like, "Oh, I think I know what happened," or "I saw something," like the Gabby case when she went missing. We always on the internet like, "Hey, look here, do this." And we kept staying on the police because of that reason, like, "Hey, you need to find her." So I think that's what true crime is important about that. But sometimes, as you said, some true crimers, they're like, I think when they get like their beginning is so amazing, and then they start
Mm,
getting bigger and bigger, they forget about the victim sometimes.
I agree, and it becomes just about money and numbers and you know popularity.
Yes.
And, I've actually stopped listening to certain people because it's like, oh my God, what are you saying? Stop! That's so rude. Um, you just can't. I don't even want to subscribe to it. Because
Mhm.
it's such negativity. So, but if you guys are actively thinking like that, then you're being responsible. So
Thank you.
that's
Well,
cool.
we tell them, we're like, "Hey, this is our theory. You can agree, you don't have to agree, but we're just putting it out there. We're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. We're just trying to tell you how we think what might happen to the person."
And then I think
Mhm.
a lot too is we're all human. We're not perfect. I know a lot of people live double lives, especially because we are, lesbians. Like there was a time that we thought that we had to hide who we were. And so
Mhm.
I feel like not to bash anybody, but some of these people do live double lives. Like you don't really know a person until you do. So
Mhm.
our theories sometimes might be a little outrageous, but anything is possible. You know?
Right. I think if your theories are, even if they're outrageous, that's one thing, but as long as they're not harmful to anybody, like,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, it is what it is. So, Matt, do you guys get a lot of response from fans or any hate mail? I mean, I don't know why. I get a lot of hate mail. I do. I get a lot of hate mail. Me myself. I'm like, why? Don't even message me. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
We did.
People
Oh,
people
one.
are crazy.
I think it's me. I think it's me. It was one case.
Really?
I should agree, and I always felt like something happened in that household a little bit because why
Mm,
would a little girl just leave her house at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning? There was always like, oh, why did she leave so early? And I would say, like, what if it was the parents? And I got a lot of negative and people coming at me. I'm like, hey, we don't know what's really going on in somebody's household. We can't say,
mm,
hey, they was the best parents or they were the worst parents. We don't know. But
mm.
it was always kind of weird for me for her just to leave the house.
How old was she?
She was like 9.
Yeah.
Oh
Packed,
wow. Yeah. See, no.
packed her bag and left at 2 o'clock in the morning.
And
And
the
this,
dad, I think, usually took them in, but he didn't that night or something like
yeah,
that.
he
Like
did
that
it.
night it was off.
Mm.
And that's
Yeah,
where the
that's very
theory.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's creepy, kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think most people's first thought would be the family. But yeah, so it was like fans that disagreed with you, really?
Some
Mm.
agree with me, but I got a lot of negative. People like, "Oh, hope you have a worse day, but
Oh my
your
god.
karma's
Uh,
gonna hit you." I'm
uh,
like, "Gosh,
they
calm
said,
down."
I hope you have the day you deserve.
And I said, "Thank."
Oh, like,
I said,
just
"Thank
because
you." I'm
you
like,
yeah, just because you disagree, that's so, just I don't know. I get a lot like that too, but mostly attacking my appearance. They're like, "You're ugly," or "You're stupid."
Mhm.
I'm just like, "What?" Okay, well, you don't have to like the way I look, but you could turn it off. Click
Yeah. I
X,
mean,
turn off.
there's always gonna be trolls. I know about me,
Mm,
they said that I sound monotone, which I probably do. I mean, I probably need to put a little bit more excitement.
nah, you guys do you because I know like there are a million true crime podcasts out there. But what if your voices are soothing to some fans?
mhm.
Like if you go and change it, you could totally ruin the experience for that fan. So,
And that's what another fan said. She was like, "I feel like their voices are very calming, very soothing." And
mhm.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
And
Now
put
where I
you
did
guys
drop
oh, go
uh-huh.
ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, where I did drop the ball is sometimes she'll say something and I won't, like, catch it, and then, like, I'll bring it up again, and so I think there was a comment being made, and they were like, "She already said that, like, why are you bringing it back up, or why are you questioning it?"
I
So
But
mean, it's
people are so like the social media has created monsters. Like think about when we were younger, before we were really forced with social media. Like I know I'm significantly older, so I grew up in an age where there was no internet. There was no cell phones, nothing like that. You guys are like, what? No, yeah, I'm a 70s baby. So, yeah, I don't, but there was a time in the world where you would go to a grocery store and you might see somebody that is dressed crazy or smells offensive, and you would not walk up to them and say, "You're disgusting." You just didn't do that. Not in the 80s, maybe not even in the early 90s. But for some reason, social media has allowed us to say, "You're stupid. I hate you." Like what?
right.
I think it's maybe because you're hidden behind your screen.
mhm.
That same exact person probably wouldn't go up to someone in a grocery store and say it, but maybe.
And a lot of them 'em don't even have profile pictures, like, they have those fake avatars.
Right.
Mm, yeah, because they hide behind it. It's easy to be mean on the internet?
I know a lot of people delete the negative ones. I just keep them up because sometimes, and my friends tell me, they're like, keep them up. Like your other listeners, they gonna fight. They're gonna like, hey, like don't talk to her like that. And it does happen. Sometimes like your
I
listeners,
I used to do that too, and I would be like, "Screw it, let the fans sort it out." But it became like an all-out fight on a lot of them. Like, "Okay, I don't want this negativity, so let's get rid of him." So, depending on how mean or nasty they are, sometimes I report them. So
on TikTok, I like you can filter the comments. So like if they say certain words, I like filter it and like it can't go on them.
mhm.
So I'm like, okay,
Mm,
it's easier now. Like I don't have to see the negative sometimes. I'm like this, you know.
yeah. You gotta
And I
be careful, like, with the fans if you're like, "Oh, they'll fight each other." That ends up sometimes being a larger catastrophe. So
right. And I know my wife took the first offensive comment, like, really to heart, like, she was so brokenhearted, it was, like, a whole day, and
mm,
I talked to her and I was like, "Look," I was like, "Our podcast isn't for everybody." I was like, "But there are people that like our podcast, and that's
mhm,
who we should be focusing on." I was like, "Look at how many people listen and like our podcast, and look at the one troll that we got. Like, are we really
mm,
gonna just throw this away because of that one person?" And then
right,
there was, like, a really good quote. I don't know who said it, but it was like somebody was like, "Hey, if I give you a gift and you don't receive it, who does it belong to? It belongs to you because the
mm,
other person didn't receive it." So it's almost like an offensive comment. Somebody can call you whatever they want, but if you don't believe that, it shouldn't affect you, or it's not gonna affect you.
mhm. I
Yeah,
also think, though, that a lot of these people that make these comments, like, do you know how to operate a microphone? Do you know how to write? Do you know how to research? If you do, then I welcome you to go do this yourself. If you can't figure it out and you don't wanna hear me, turn it off and shut
right,
up. It's but I think I blame the internet. It's
yeah,
allowed people to hide behind a screen and be nasty in the world.
yeah.
So, but
But
yeah.
there's also, like, a lot of lovely people, like,
Mhm.
showed us so much love, and, we don't realize, like, how much we affect their day, you know? Um,
Mhm.
but, like, that's why we do it, like, we love our fans, we love what we do. At the end of the day, we decide to focus on love and happiness rather than
Mhm.
all the negativity.
I did learn that deleting or reporting some of the negative comments is for the best. We don't ever always know the age ranges of our fans, but apparently I had a young woman who was 15. And she got very upset by some of the comments made about my appearance. I don't know why they attacked my appearance. I'm like, I'm not gorgeous, but I'm not ugly, right? Like, what the hell?
My husband love it. It seemed like my husband love it, so it's okay.
Right, yeah, but she was very offended by one of the comments and had tried to fight the troll, and then I ended up just deleting it all because it became like gangland in my comment section. So, um, she actually is, I guess, an aspiring digital artist or something, and she made a fan picture of me. It's very cute. We're gonna feature it in an upcoming episode, but so you don't know who you're inspiring, and she's like, I love your show. I listen to it all, and it's so cute. She's 15. So, yeah, we reached out to her family because she wrote some fan mail and sent a picture. We're asking if we can feature her in our upcoming fan mail episode. So, fun stuff. So there are people out there that really like what we're doing. Just hard when the one troll comes in the room and all you can do is see
Focus.
that person. Yeah, and focus. Anyway, so um anything new and exciting for 2025 with you guys?
I think 2025, we just want to grow. Like we just want to get more cases. I feel like every true crime, you want that one case that can be solved because this is what ours are missing
Mm,
and unsolved. Like that one case that is just solved. And I think that's the main thing we want. We have did a lot of family ones. A lot of families has came to us like, hey, can you do an episode on my loved one? I think those are scariest ones because you want to be like nice and make sure they love it. You don't want to offend nobody.
mm,
But when they asked me, I was like, hey, listen, have you listened to the episode? Really listen to it. We do theories now. I don't want you to like, it's okay. I'm like, please just remember, we do theories. We're not going to disrespect your loved one, but we don't want you like getting mad. It's like, well, I don't agree with your theories. I don't like that. So I think
mm,
we're like getting excited about those because we have like a month that we only gonna focus on giving loved ones their answers so they help their family members get answers. So I'm excited about that one.
that'll be fun, yeah. So there's local people that have contacted you or
Social media, we had like our first one. She contacted us, and I
mm,
was scared to do her case because hers is like a doozy. And
Mm.
like they found the lady body, but they think it's the father. It's just so much around that case. I'm like, do you understand like what our podcast is? Like we're not like what is Justice for Voices for Justice. She really give them a voice, but us is like we trying to help solve the case. So it's kind of different for
Mhm.
us. We don't
Yeah.
want to say anything that will hurt their feelings. I think those the hardest ones sometimes.
Yeah. So, no, I totally get it. Um, well, I think if there's not much else, we probably could wrap it up. But I think it was a lot of fun dissecting the Germond murder with you. That was a blast. Maybe we'll have to collaborate again, like something else that I've done, in the past. Missing person. Um, the I think it's Elaine Parks. She went missing from a celebrity's house. So yeah, go check that out. It's on my YouTube. She was affiliated with Queen Latifah's business partner, um, the Campiro family, and she was seeing the son, and she left in the middle of the night and was never found. Disappeared. So yeah,
Hope
that would be fun.
us.
Huh?
I said, "Hope Queen Latifah don't come after us."
No, I'm pretty sure she won't. This case has been done for years now, all over the internet. So I think unless you were to actually call her out, I mean, maybe, but um, no one's really doing that. It's just that's the affiliation. Like that's the father of this young guy was her business partner.
Mhm.
So kind of like a high profile missing persons case. So but
Mhm.
she, the young woman, was not of money or anything like that, just normal middle class. They found her car on the Pacific Coast Highway, and,
Mhm.
it was still in the on position as if it had been running when she got out, but
Wow.
no one ever found her, so but maybe we'll collaborate and do something like that.
Of
Definitely.
course.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You guys go check them out. I've still got their YouTube scrolling at the bottom. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Um,
Everywhere.
and, yep. And go check them out. So, all right, you guys. Bye.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.